visit 9 precious milestones on Arjuna's hero path. A path full of danger, astonishing insights and lessons for the 21st century warriors. Harness hidden talents with the right temperament. Develop situational intelligence. Learn when less is more and the art of catching your butterfly mind. Practice small work with great love. Know that commitment is a mental muscle. Learn the art of undoing. Follow the path of choiceless love. Resolve the mutiny of a million egos and learn how a fighter becomes a warrior. Awaken to your invincible self. With exciting stories that shape the ultimate warrior. Learn from Arjuna to create your own hero path in the 21st century. The new bestseller from Debashish.
Do I have a hobby? Do I play an instrument? After the hypnotic rhythms of the tumbak, I can only say, well, the only instrument I play is an instrument called the human mind. That's what I play with, and I'm going to share with you in a very short spasm of time, because TED is about spasms of time, not so much span of time. Now, the question that often occurs to us is, our heroes, our leaders, born or made? And the answer to the question is, for me, is they can be made provided they're born. And unless you're born with a certain number of virtues, unless you're born with a certain combination of the elements, I think the recipe of heroism is lost. So my first secret of decoding the success of what constitutes the journey of a hero, such as the Arjuna, is that you have to choose your parents rather well. If you haven't done it so far, wait for the next birth to do so. But you know, Arjuna was born under special circumstances. I'm not going to go into Arjuna. I'm going to go into the very nature of what is born with you. And that birth is very critical. What is born with you is something that goes much beyond your mental barriers, and all barriers are mental in nature. That's what I've discovered in 5 decades of my life. And when you cross those mental barriers, you realize that the elements that help you cross those mental barriers were right there inside you. I heard a high jumper in the Olympics tell me that, you know, how do I jump so high? The process is very simple. First, my mind goes over the bar and the heart follows it, and then the body follows. So fundamentally, there's a lot of noise here. I don't know where it is coming from. Can you look at the noise, please? So fundamentally, what one is trying to say is that there is something inside all of us. That something inside is a principle of life that operates in a way that we haven't probably investigated. And so if you ask this question to yourself, how is this principle organized? And it's organized in a manner that the principle operates in a co-creative manner. You know, I had a cup of chai just before I got up on stage. If you look at what that cup of chai really is, it is actually photons of light falling on green leaf, and the green leaf turns brown and you call it chai. You put that chai in hot water and you add a fluid which is produced by a black cow that has eaten green grass, and you don't know what that fluid is all about until you call it milk, and you add that chai with milk and hot water, and then you have the sap of the earth that a pump called sugarcane draws, and that sap is crystallized and you form sugar crystals. So really, when you're drinking a cup of tea, what you're essentially drinking is the 4 elements of the earth: light, fire, earth and water. Now, if you see the co-creation that happens in all of us, the fact that we have taken birth is because there's been a co-creation of the elements. The dress that I have is crafted somewhere over which, about the craftsman I have no control. My voice that speaks to you is co-created by my parents, and if I did not have my parents, then the voice would fall silent and I'll simply say. So you can see we are a combination of these elements. How do they come together? And the whole recipe for it, they come together in terms of purpose, performance and possibility. First, let's look at purpose. And what is the purpose? What is this purpose that creates this life? My first lessons in purpose was a person whose name is Mother Teresa. You probably have all heard of her. I met her and she said, Debashish, purpose is small work with great love. It is not the work that grows, it is love that grows. And if you are working on anything with intensity of love, you will see your work has grown. It has crossed multiple barriers. It is love that crosses those barriers. I didn't quite understand what she had to say until I connected her words with something I heard I heard much when I was much younger from a person whose name is Tenzing Norgay, the man who went to Everest for the first time. When I went to meet him to get his autograph, I saw him cleaning a window pane. I didn't know he was Tenzing, so I said, can I meet Tenzing Norgay? Can I get his autograph? He said, have you got a pen? Have you got an autograph book? I said, I have a 5 rupee note, I don't have a pen. He said, I'll borrow a pen and get you. And he started signing. I said, I wanted Tenzing Norgay. He says, I am Tenzing Norgay. And then he realized that even the man who's reached that peak was doing the cleaning of the window pane with just as much intensity. This was purpose. Purpose is, how do you connect your life with the lives of so many others? How you go beyond your personal goals into goals, fulfilling the goals of so many others. The next issue was of performance, and for me performance was about not doing something but undoing those barriers to your pure potential. I wanted to write, and I was looking for advice from all kinds of people. How do I write? Tell me, how do I start? Until I met a gentleman whose name is Khushbant Singh, who lived almost to 100, and he said to me, Debashish, the only way to write is to write. There is no other way. And I recognized that if I did not eat breakfast until I wrote 500 words, then I would end up doing something. I wrote 17, this was my 17th book that you saw being advertised, okay? And the performance aspect of it was to simply go out and do it, because the doing part will give you ideas that just thinking would not. When I was the director of IIM Kozhikode, one of the youngest academics to be the director of an IIM, the first thing I realized that we have an adverse sex ratio. The number of girls to boys were pretty minuscule, about 10% in the 50 years of existence of the IIM. What I did is I said 50% of our students should be women, and we did it. And after we did it, there was a lot of flag, a lot of criticism, but there's a lot of huge churning in India. And now you see that one decision, which was actually performance, broke through many barriers, and today gender ratios have become critical in all IIMs, virtually in all educational institutions. And finally, I'm going to end with, because there's a great speaker following me, I want to make time for him. This is the realm of possibility, and you might wonder what is possibility? Possibility is when the mind goes beyond its thinking and emotional patterns and starts to imagine a reality that does not exist today but could in the future. One possibility is, I'm going to share with you just 2 small incidents. The first conversation with a man who created Visa card. When Visa was being created, banking was equal to tall buildings. Banking had nothing to do with ideas, right? Ideas are settled. And De Hoc invented the card that you use in the ATM machine today, and he said, I redefined money, I reimagined money. How did I reimagine money? I defined money as human energy impulse that can be alphanumerically coded on a plastic card, and these impulses could be transmitted from one continent to another, provided there are 2 elements behind the transmission process. One is called value, the other is trust. If you have these 2, you can call yourself a bank. That was a phenomenal definition of money. And I'm coming to the last story, and this is where I'm going to end. This is a story of a guy who wanted to go to an English medium school, pretty much like Amity. And his father couldn't afford, because the younger boy had gone to an English medium school and the fees of that school was 47 rupees a month in those days. And the English medium school was much, much more. And The father said, well, with great difficulty, he collected the money, he went to the headmaster, a test was offered to this boy, who failed all the 100 out of 100 spellings that were given to him. So the headmaster of that English medium school said, well, he does not qualify this year, next year he can give it a try. You can bring him next year. The father said, my son would be heartbroken, give him another attempt. Within a month he'll come back for the test. So he was allowed to go to the tuition teacher, who was the husband of the English teacher of this particular school, and the deal was that he will lick the question papers before the exam and the guy will get through. But the tuition teacher had a pedigree, so he also had a test. He said, I'm going to test you before I allow you to come to my tuition classes. You have to have some substance. So he said, can you spell circus for me? And the boy spelled circus as C-I-R-C-U-S. The same question was asked to several others before him. They failed the circus test. And the teacher said, he'll go very far. He comes from a small vernacular school, but he can spell circus, you can't. He will go very far. And it stuck in the boy's head, and he said, well, I wasn't that intelligent. Well, coming to the tuition class, I saw Gemini circus being advertised. Inside the mouth of a hippopotamus was the word circus, and it was spelled so well visually, an idiot could not reproduce it, and when an idiot can reproduce that. So he said, but then I heard that he'll go very far, so I must go into the English language, learn a little bit more. And the same boy ends up writing 17 books and becomes the youngest director of an IIM. So you take your pick if he has crossed the mental barrier or not. Thank you so much for being here.